What's up, everybody? It's Tech Tip Tuesday. Let's learn something. Alright guys, so this is the block straight out of Blitz. I've got it out this week to do some maintenance to it. What I want to show you guys is the oil galley system. So here's my SV Turbo oil filter housing. This is my male oil adapter. This is running off of here. It goes to an AccuSump in the car, and what that does, it holds 3 quarts of oil. If the oil pressure gets low in the engine, the AccuSump will trigger versus via solenoid, and it pushes that oil to the engine so it doesn't lose oil pressure to the system. But what I want to show you guys is your oil galley is here, and it runs all the way up through here. And that oil galley is supplying all your oil to your mains and then feeding the rest of the engine. So what I want to show you guys is, normally in a Jetta or a Golf, the engine is sitting this way with your front bumper radiator here. But now it would be here in my car. This is the front of my car. So the oil actually pumps in this direction through the oil galley. Well, what we found out is acceleration, the G-force from acceleration is pushing this way. So what's happening, that pressure's going this way, and then they start fighting each other. And we figured this out around when the car started going anything quicker than a 125/60. Right now we're at 110, 111. We've had some 107, 108 60s. My goal is to be around a 104. That'll put us in the mid 4-second zone in the eighth. And that's what I'm shooting for. So those G-forces were causing some issues. And not only that, but what I want to show you on the other block is what the situation is as far as another issue that's happening with the oil in the system. So on this block, this is the rear. And so the oil galley, the oil system is moving this way. So you're feeding each main as you go, right? So you imagine that G-force pushing on it. So let's just say on a normal circumstance with no G-force, this main back here is 100 PSI, right? So let's just say we lose 2 pounds per main. So you got 100, 98, 96, 94, 92, 90. We're 88 at the front. So with that 88 at the front, another issue, we've lost that pressure. So it also, each main is being supplied solely to that main, right? So you're feeding the main, which feeds your rod through the crank. But when you get to the front, the system splits. And what I mean by that is you got an oil galley coming from the main galley that feeds your main, but it also has another galley running down here inside to the other side of the block. And what that's doing is feeding its oil supply for the head. So you imagine you've started 100, now you're at 88, but then you split that off. So it's almost like you're at 44 PSI, and these are just reference numbers, it's not necessarily exact. But we're at 44 PSI going to this journal. So imagine you've got a water hose and you've got a hole 3 feet before it gets to the squirt nozzle. Well, of course you're not going to have the pressure you normally have out of the squirt nozzle because you have a hole in the system before you get there. So let's go and look at this split that I'm talking about. So we've got this, your main oil galley here. This is actually the other side where it splits off to the head. Your main galley is here, right? We've got where our AccuSump's coming off. This is where your fuel filter housing is, and the oil's pumping this way, right? Well, if you look right here in this hole, I can feed this rod from the other side of the block, and it comes out right there. So where normally the oil galley is just going straight to here to the main, now we have this other one that's coming from right here, and it's coming across to this side, right? So it's splitting it off. So as you can see, if you can see in the video, I've got this tapped. And what we do here is I go down inside here about 1/2 inch, and we tap the inside of this journal here, and I put a 1/8 NPT plug. And what that's doing is preventing the oil from coming across to here. So I'm deadheading, I'm stopping it up, right? That prevents that 44 pound PSI drop that we were using as a reference. to go back to the main. So now I'm supplying the sufficient oil pressure here on number 1, the same as I have through the other main journals there. So we put a tap right here, we plug it, and then what I'll show you on Blitz is the block out of Blitz is how we do it. So again, we've got a plug here, right? There's also that tap, that 1/8 NPT down inside this journal. It needs to be just past the journal here, because as you see, I've got a 6AN 1/4 inch NPT feeding it. And what that does is this. We're now supplying the head out of the fuel filter housing. So we've blocked the head supply from the oil galley, and we've got this 6AN line running around the engine to the front of the engine here. So now we're keeping our pressure on our mains, but we haven't lost any pressure going to our head system. So what that's doing, there's a journal right here that comes up, and then right here's your port for the oiling to the head. All right. So we haven't sacrificed any pressure there. We're just rerouting the oil system is all we've done. We haven't sacrificed any pressure anywhere. We're just simply rerouting it. So that's how we're keeping our oil pressure to number 1. So for you guys that are turning your engines, what I would say the American way or incorrect from a Jetta or a Golf, this is what you may want to think about. So last week I showed you the oil pan, and this week I just want to show you how we're rerouting that oil line. So we started doing this about 3 seasons ago. It's worked out pretty good. It keeps oiling system on the head, and it does very well. All right, guys, I appreciate you joining us today. I hope this helps you. If you're turning engine different from the way it is in a front-wheel drive, you turn it where this is the front. If you're starting to push a lot of acceleration, or if you're trying to make a lot of horsepower, just consider this. It's an easy fix. Just a little bit of time and a couple taps, and then another line. It's about all it is, but it really helps to ensure that number 1 journal, rod and main, are staying well lubricated, so that there's no friction and you're not going to be burning out number 1s. If you hurt number 1 rod, you've usually hurt the crank, so you trashed the crank. So it really helps save on these parts. I hope this helps you guys. As always, keep learning. I appreciate you tuning in. If you have any comments, please comment below, and we'll see you next week.